Hey guys, today I have a fun reaction video for you all. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis recently went on Armchair Expert with Dax Shephard podcast, and they revealed some rather interesting tidbits about their philosophy around bathing, how often they bathe, how they bathe their children. So I'm gonna play the clips from the podcast for you all. I'm gonna give my response, talk about how often should you be bathing, is what they're doing crazy or does it make sense?
You just waded perfectly into a pre-existing argument between Monica and I. We've been fighting for a month now. I told her to stop washing her body with soap. I said, tits, slits, and pits. That's an Armchair. He came up with that, not me.
And then I added soles and holes.
Soles and holes. Yeah. But you should not be getting rid of all the natural oil on your skin with a bar of soap every day.
So that's Dax Shephard, the podcast host. He's recently told this other woman that they should stop using bar soap, that it gets rid of the natural oils. Soap really is only necessary to the visibly soiled areas, and it's also helpful in the armpits, the groin, anywhere where you have skin-on-skin contact. And he's absolutely right. Whenever you use soap, it's intended to remove dirt, pollutants, excess sebum, aka body oils, cosmetics. But as it does that, it's going to remove some of your natural lipid barrier, and that is what leads to dryness, more water loss out of the skin. So it's kind of a delicate balance, and he's absolutely right. Soap certainly does disrupt the natural moisture barrier. And I always tell people, you only need to use soap to areas that are visibly soiled or in the skin folds, under the breast, if you have abdominal folds, anywhere where you have skin-on-skin contact. But that's body washing. Let's see what else say.
It's insane.
Do you guys wash your whole body?
Water.
I don't wash my body with soap every day.
Okay, good. That's good. That's good.
But I wash pits and tits and holes and soles.
Slits.
I wash the slits. I wash my slits and my tits.
I wash my armpits and my crotch daily and nothing else ever.
You don't?
So they're saying basically what I said to do, that they only use water to their body, and then in the folds is where they use soap. And that's really what you should do. I mean, if you think about it, what are you washing away with soap on your arms and legs? Unless there's actual visible dirt there, or you've come in contact with something that needs to be washed off, then yeah, it makes sense to then use soap. But all you're doing is removing your natural lipids. Using water alone to areas outside of the skin folds is more than enough to remove whatever debris, pollutants, bacteria that may have settled on the skin. Water will actually get rid of it. And if you think about it, when you're in the shower, you have the water beating down on your skin. That's exfoliating away the dead skin cells and helping to slough off that debris. You don't actually need a surfactant, aka a soap or a body wash, to do that for you. And if you use body wash or soap, really all it's doing is pulling away some of your natural lipid barrier. And in the long run, what that ends up doing is it creates an environment on the surface of the skin where you have an impaired skin barrier and your skin's defenses are a bit down, and you're more likely to then be colonized with pathogenic bacteria, especially if you have a condition like eczema where you naturally have an impaired moisture barrier, then you're even more vulnerable. So soap is really unnecessary, and in many cases can be very disruptive to good skin health. Of course, soap has a role in a situation where you have visibly soiled skin. Many people who work outdoors, they are exposed to a lot of dust, dirt, pollutants, mud as part of their occupation. You're going to need body wash or soap in those cases, but I'm guessing that Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, that is not their lifestyle. The majority of people spend their day indoors and have an office job or whatnot. You're not getting coated in pathogens, dirt, whatnot. And the soap thing, you're just making Unilever coin. That is it. All right, let's keep washing.
Exactly.
Wait,
and look at
guys.
his. Let's talk about his skin.
I got a bar, a Lever 2000.
There we go.
It just delivers every time.
Textbook soap.
Nothing else. Nothing else.
That's true.
I can't believe I'm in the minority here of washing my whole body in the shower. I can't,
She's actually in the majority. Most people believe that they need to use body wash to all body surfaces. Why? Well, because marketing has persuaded us that that's what we need to do. Our modern lifestyle just does not necessitate using body wash or soap to the extent that most people are using it. I've commented that I don't use body wash or soap except in the armpits, the groin area, anywhere that's visibly soiled, and people are like, oh, you must smell. But really, The reason for body odor is sweat left on the skin that gets broken down by bacteria. Sweat is water soluble. It will rinse off of the skin in the shower. Body wash isn't actually going to help you out in terms of reducing body odor. It just deposits perfume on the skin that may mask body odor, but also can cause irritation for the skin. And it simultaneously strips away at the moisture barrier. So it's really just not helping in the fight against body odor.
So weird.
Who taught you to not wash?
I didn't have hot water growing up as a child, so I didn't shower very much anyway.
Okay,
But
okay.
when I had children, I also didn't wash them every day. Like, I wasn't the parent that bathed my newborns ever.
We only did because it was part of the nighttime routine. We could care less about their cleanliness. We just put them in there as like Pavlovian. But then as soon as we didn't need help, we haven't washed them since. It's been like 6 years.
That's true. You know, babies, they really don't need to be bathing daily at all. You really only need, for a newborn or a baby, you really only need a damp washcloth to wipe away visibly soiled areas. Babies get dirty, so I understand why parents introduce bathing. But if you have a young child who has eczema, bathing can actually end up being a major contributing factor to the flares of their eczema. If you're using soaps unnecessarily, if you're using bubble bath, I mean, people make this culture around bath time as this relaxing thing. And it's fine for the majority of babies, but if you have a baby with eczema, it really can aggravate their skin to spend a lot of time soaking in water, exposed to surfactants from things like bubble bath, baby wash. And when I say surfactants, those are the things in body washes and soaps and cleansers that are intended to remove dirt, but also strip away at your moisture barrier. And for young children, there's really not a need for those. But for young children who have eczema, it can be incredibly harmful actually and aggravate their disease tremendously. Now, as children get a little older, school aged, they only need to bathe like once or twice a week technically. That being said, children do get dirty and then more bathing is needed. So it depends on your child. I would say children should be playing outside as part of a healthy lifestyle, rolling around getting dirty, so they're gonna need a bath. But unfortunately, modern lifestyles, a lot of kids are sedentary indoors, which is not good. Do they really need to be bathing as frequently? No. Now, once your children get into puberty, as part of puberty, you start making more oils. As the hormones change, the hormone profiles change, then your sebaceous oil gland starts making oil. And at that point, you do need to start bathing on a daily basis, but you don't need to actually use body wash again.
That's how we feel about our children. We're like, oof, something smells. And we're like,
Here's
oh,
the thing. Now, here's the thing. If you can see the dirt on them, clean them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point. I mean, I will say, when I work out, I have a tendency to throw some water on my face after a workout just to get all the salts and the whatever.
I wash twice a day.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
wash your face.
Up until this point, I've pretty much just been talking about the body from the neck down, but the face is a different story. He mentions that he splashes water on his face after a workout. So that's good for removing sweat. As I said earlier, sweat is water soluble. It will rinse off the surface of the skin. And I'm just gonna make the assumption, I could be wrong, that he doesn't wear makeup. Maybe he does, but presuming he doesn't, then water alone is more than enough. Now, I'm also hoping that he wears sunscreen. Sunscreen can be a little challenging to remove with just water alone, especially the water resistant types. So in my opinion, anybody from the age of puberty onward should wash their face daily, and ideally with a gentle cleanser to remove cosmetics if you use them, to remove sunscreen, which you need to be using, to help with removing buildup of sebum, the oils on the skin, that for people with acne-prone skin, that can actually really contribute to the acne, and to help in facilitating removal of pollutants from the face. The face is some of the most exposed territory of your skin, and it's gonna see a lot of pollutants. And unfortunately, in modern lifestyle, we now have to factor in our exposure to pollutants, which do drive a lot of skin aging, as well as there's an association with living in a polluted environment being associated with more severe eczema, more severe acne. So washing the face is one method to hopefully remove some of that pollutant. Although to what extent washing with a cleanser actually achieves that is really difficult to say. Cleansers really aren't assayed for that, but that is sort of the hope, that you at least reduce the burden of pollutants on the skin by washing the face. So I recommend everybody wash their face at least once a day. Now, many people like to wash their face twice a day. I say it's kind of up to the individual whether or not you wash your face once a day or twice a day. For many people, especially those people who have rosacea or eczema, washing the face twice a day is actually too much. Ends up contributing to symptoms of sensitivity, burning, stinging, dryness, and it can just be over drying to the skin. And for people with acne, that actually can end up aggravating their acne. But on the flip side, for many people, especially people who make a lot of oil, washing the face twice a day feels better. It removes the excess oil that would otherwise contribute to shine. So it's something that as a person, you have to figure out, am I gonna wash my face once a day or twice a day? Here's the thing, washing your face once a day is more than enough, but if you find that you feel oily, greasy, you look shiny, and you're having problems with your acne, then you may want to bump to twice a day. What you're doing today may not be what you need to do 5, 10 years from now. As we get wiser, our skin makes less oil, the need to cleanse goes down.
I don't know, guys. I don't know if you need to wash your face.
Dax, that's too much. That's too much. You wash your face.
She won't just do an experiment. All I'm asking for is like a 30-day trial where we don't put soap on the face or the rest of the body. Pits, slits, and tits, fine. And just see what the hydration level is of the skin, the moisture level. Let's just see what happens when everything levels and neutralizes.
Totally fair experiment. What is your hypothesis, Dad?
That's pretty much how I live my life. I use a gentle cleanser on my face daily. The majority of the time, I never use body wash. I mean, you guys have seen my empties videos at this point. There are no body washes for the most part. The only time I use a body wash is to help in removing water-resistant sunscreen. The majority of the time I wear long sleeves and long pants when I'm outside as a method of sun protection and to also help reduce exposure to things that bite, mosquitoes. So I like to wear long sleeves and long pants all the time. But in the summer, it can be miserably hot and I tend to wear shorts. And to help with the sun exposure, I wear sunscreen on my legs. So I do end up employing a body wash to help in removing that. But that is really the only reason that I use body wash.
Next, that will happen.
She'll have no
Dry skin.
No dry skin, which we call
ashy skin.
No ashiness on her legs or arms. When she scratches, you won't see any mark, which is the thing that she doesn't like.
I think that's just because I have dark skin and you can just see the scratches.
Well, hold on. When your legs are super moisturized, which we've witnessed, they don't do that.
All right.
Okay. So it's just a very small.
Yeah, what they're talking about, body wash, as I said earlier, it strips away the natural lipid barrier. That leads to more water loss out of the skin that contributes to dryness and subsequent sensation of itch and then that scratching behavior. And then scratching further impairs the moisture barrier. You lose more water out of the skin. It's not helpful. And the other potential risk with using so much body wash to our skin, which we're recently learning more about, is that it can actually alter your skin microbiome. The organisms that naturally live on your skin, they are really helpful to the health of your skin. They're integral to keeping you protected from the outside world. And over cleansing, using surfactants that strip away at the lipid barrier can start to potentially disrupt that and contribute to problems. We're in the beginning stages of learning about this, but there is some thought that all of this use of skincare products, including soaps and body washes, is actually ending up being too disruptive to our skin's microbiome.
Request. It's a 30-day trial.
What do I do for oily skin? I have very oily skin and I break out.
But you have oily skin because you're washing your face so much and your body's trying to push all this oil out to re-moisturize what you're stripping off twice.
Now that I don't agree with. There is the kind of misconception that using products can make you oilier. And if you actually look at the physiology of the sebaceous gland, there's really no logic behind that. It's not as though there is a sensor within the sebaceous oil gland to using products or not using products or cleansers. Oil production is governed by a few things. Your genetics. Some people genetically have oilier skin. Earlier in the podcast, I didn't play it, but she mentioned how she had acne as a teenager. So she has oilier skin as part of her genetics. maybe larger oil glands. And the other thing that contributes to oiliness is hormones. Hormonal fluctuations. That's why I mentioned starting at puberty is when you want to start bathing more regularly to remove excess sebum, excess oil. Left on the skin, it can contribute to acne flares, and therefore cleansing is beneficial. But it's a myth, however, that certain products are going to make you oilier. Now, if you're over cleansing, what that does is it strips away at the moisture barrier. That leads to more dryness. It's not actually going to change the rate of oil production, because again, oil production is governed by hormones, genetics. But what I think ends up happening is that because the skin barrier is kind of dry, as the oil spreads out onto the skin, it looks shinier because you don't have that hydrated base to kind of buoy things up. So it scatters light in such a way that makes you look greasier and shinier.
I agree with Dax on this one.
Yeah, twice a day. Twice a day with two different types of cleansers.
Me too. Yeah.
Yes, and I feel bad for you guys. It's not your fault. You got sucked into this terrible treadmill of pressure to this and that. You're all victims. I'm just saying, it's time to just let the skin be itself for 30 and see where we're at.
He makes a good point, that skincare companies have marketed traditionally so heavily to women that we're kind of just roped into the belief that we need to be using all of these products. For a long time, skincare companies, they could only grasp the male audience by marketing products that were like 3-in-1, for convenience sake. Men were not being told that they needed to use all of these products, but that is actually changing quite a bit. And as you see, like Target has a whole massive men's aisle full of like serums and all this stuff, all these different cleansers and potions and lotions and whatnot. And the end result of that is that men are catching up to women in terms of rates of allergic contact dermatitis to skincare products because they're using more of them now. But you really have to start questioning, why are we using so much soap? It's largely because of marketing. It's not from a true need to. And once upon a time, using soap was helpful because we spent all of our time outdoors exposed to dirt and pathogens, but that's just not the case anymore for our modern lifestyle. And therefore, you really need to be more critical of your soap and cleanser use. Now, why use it in the armpits, the groins, the skin folds? The reason is that those areas, there's a lot more moisture that is trapped, and actually the microbiome is a little different in those areas, and because of that, you're more likely to have colonization with different types of bacteria that can break down your sweat and contribute to body odor.
Skin has never looked better than what it looked during COVID when you weren't putting makeup on every day. I'm just going to be honest about it. You woke up a natural beauty every day.
That's thanks, babe.
Radiant, right? Radiant?
Whatever. Do you talk about this with K-Bell? Does she not wash her face?
No, she does.
She washes her face,
but she doesn't wash her body.
All right, guys. So how often should you be bathing? It honestly varies a lot from person to person and from age to age. Babies, they don't really need to bathe. You only want to bathe them when they're visibly soiled. Young children, school-age children, maybe a couple of times a week, but again, it's going to vary depending on their level of activity, what they're doing. If they're playing sports, they're outside, they're dirty, bathe them. Once you hit puberty, your hormones change, you start making more oil, then you need to bathe at least every other day. And that's something that you're going to continue throughout adulthood. But once you get into your 50s and beyond, what ends up happening is that, again, the hormones change and we make less oil. So the need to bathe goes down. And in the elderly population, actually the skin barrier has fewer moisturizing factors and is a lot more prone to dryness and irritation. So when you get into your much wiser years, older adulthood, there is definitely a drastically decreased need to be bathing. Now, when it comes to incorporating body wash and soap into this routine, throughout your lifetime, you really only need to be using it to visibly soiled areas and the skin folds. And of course, that's going to vary from person to person depending on your occupation, what you did that day. The face, however, you do need to incorporate a gentle cleanser. You can wash your face once a day or twice a day. Again, that's going to be governed by you and your own personal journey. You need to use a gentle cleanser to remove sunscreen, which everybody should be wearing, and also makeup if you wear makeup. And remember, the face has a high density of those sebaceous oil glands, and excess oil left on the surface of the skin that can contribute to acne breakouts. So there is definitely a role for cleansing the face with a gentle cleanser. It's not that rigid. For example, if you wear sunscreen every day and you find that it works out just fine for you, you have zero skin problems to just splash water on your face, then keep doing that. Fewer products, fewer problems. So if you can minimize the number of products that you use in your skincare routine, then by all means, if you can get away with just splashing your face with water to cleanse and you're not having any problems, then why change it? If you wear makeup, you do need to wash your face with a cleanser to remove that. Now, one thing I didn't touch on that is important is hand washing. You can't not wash your hands. Hand hygiene is critical for reducing transmission of pathogens, colds, flus. We touch things all the time and then we touch our face, and you need to wash your hands to basically cut down on the transmission of cold and flu viruses, other viruses that we're obviously very worried about. And when it comes to washing your hands, it's actually the amount of time that you spend rubbing the cleanser or soap on your hands, getting all surfaces rubbed. That's really what matters. It's not actually the type of soap that matters. So choose a gentle hand soap. I tell everyone to just sing the alphabet in their head. That is a sufficient amount of time to be rubbing your hands together to clean them. Make sure you get around the nails. That is really, really important to be doing to reduce the transmission of pathogens. I'm assuming they wash their hands a lot because they're mostly just talking about bathing. And we don't really think about hand hygiene and bathing together. I mean, hand hygiene is kind of its own separate thing that we do anytime, you know, we're touch something, we're gonna eat, right before you eat. Very important to wash your hands. Let me know in the comments, is there some other celebrity that you all want me to respond to as far as what kind of skincare information they are putting out there? I really enjoy doing these. You guys seem to enjoy them. And if you like them, on the next slide will be my last reaction video. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.